You know, if you're staring at a dated, scratched up kitchen right now, you're probably bracing yourself for a massive $10,000 renovation bill. But here's the thing, choosing to just paint your cabinets, that is arguably the highest return decision you can make for a home refresh. It literally completely transforms the space. But, and this is a huge but, it is also the project with the highest rate of catastrophic failure. People spend entire weekends painstakingly applying paint, only to end up with a kitchen that looks frankly infinitely worse than when they started. So today, in this explainer, we're going to dive into the actual science behind getting a flawless finish and why choosing the exact right chemistry for your cabinets matters way more than you might think.
So let's start with the big question. Why exactly does most cabinet paint fail? You've probably seen it at a friend's house, or maybe you've even lived through it yourself. The freshly painted cabinets look absolutely brilliant for about a month. And then somebody bumps a drawer with a heavy pan, or you go to wipe a greasy handprint off a door near the stove, and suddenly the paint is peeling away in these gross, rubbery strips, or it's just chipping off right at the corners. It's incredibly frustrating. Well, the problem usually isn't the painter's technique at all. The real problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a kitchen cabinet actually goes through every single day.
The single most common mistake people make is just marching into a hardware store, picking out a really lovely color, buying standard interior latex wall paint, and slapping it right onto their cabinets. Here's the deal. Standard wall paint is designed to just sit quietly in the background. It is absolutely not formulated to handle the acidic oils from your fingertips, the splattering grease from a frying pan, the constant moisture from a boiling pot of pasta, or the daily physical impact of doors slamming shut. Putting wall paint on a cabinet is basically like wearing bedroom slippers to run a marathon. It simply doesn't have the chemical structure to survive that kind of abuse.
Okay, so knowing that standard wall paint is basically set up to fail actually gives us a really clear roadmap for what does work. And it all starts with the sheen. The non-negotiable industry standard here is a semi-gloss or, in some specific cases, a high-quality satin finish. Why? Because a semi-gloss sheen actually creates a tight, non-porous surface. It physically repels moisture and lets you scrub away grease without ruining the color. Now, I know flat and matte finishes are incredibly trendy on social media right now, but you absolutely have to avoid them in a kitchen. Matte paint absorbs grease like a giant sponge, which just leaves permanent, dark, grimy stains right around your handles.
Now, we need to talk about perhaps the most overlooked specification in the entire painting world. It's called block resistance. It sounds highly technical, I know, but it's actually really simple. It just refers to a paint's ability to resist bonding to itself when it's put under pressure. Think about a cabinet door. When you close it, the painted back of that door presses tightly against the painted frame of the cabinet. If your paint lacks block resistance, those two painted surfaces will literally fuse together. So when you go to pull the door open the next morning, it sticks, and eventually it just rips the paint right off the frame. To actually get that crucial block resistance and durability, we have to look at the chemistry. Historically, professional painters totally swore by oil-based paints. They leveled out beautifully and cured into this impenetrable armor-like shell. But honestly, they were a total nightmare to work with. They took a full 24 hours to dry, the fumes were horrible and toxic, and you had to clean your brushes with really harsh solvents. But today, the game has completely changed. Modern science has given us water-based alkyd hybrids. These incredible formulas give you that exact same hard, self-leveling finish of traditional oil paint, but they dry in a fraction of the time, and you can just wash your brushes out with regular tap water, right in the kitchen sink. It's honestly a game changer. So, piecing all of this together, the ideal solution for your kitchen isn't just about picking a reputable brand name and hoping for the best. It's about actively seeking out a washable, water-based alkyd hybrid formula that explicitly features engineered block resistance. Once you truly understand the chemical problems we just talked about, finding the solution becomes completely logical. Let's look at how a few specific products currently on the market successfully apply this exact science to solve real-world kitchen problems. A really great baseline example of this chemistry in action is the Rust-Oleum Transformations Basics line, specifically looking at their Pure White. This formula is highly regarded because it neatly checks all those critical boxes we just discussed. It delivers that really protective, factory-smooth semi-gloss finish, making it highly washable. But what makes it so incredibly forgiving, especially if you're doing this yourself, is that it levels out very well. That means as the paint sits wet on the door, it naturally flattens itself out to hide your brush strokes. And amazingly, it dries to the touch in just 30 minutes, which drastically speeds up your entire project.
But what if you want to move away from white? Dark cabinets are fantastic because they naturally hide grime and create a really striking modern contrast. The black and cadet gray versions of that exact same rustafolium formula are total workhorses. Real-world users consistently note that the cadet gray requires almost zero touch-ups, even after a year and a half of heavy everyday use. But I do need to give you a critical warning about dark pigments. You have to be patient. Because of the heavy tint, if you rush the second coat before waiting a full 2 hours, the paint will suffer from what's called micro-crazing. Basically, thousands of tiny cracks will appear all over the surface as it dries. Science requires patience, guys.
Now, let's circle back for a second to that sticky problem of block resistance we talked about earlier. If you have older cabinets or maybe doors that fit incredibly snug against their frames, you need a highly targeted solution. This is where a product like Kilz Tribute really steps into the spotlight. Its specific superpower is that it's chemically engineered to achieve complete, rock-solid block resistance in just 3 hours. By focusing so heavily on that one specific feature, Kilz Tribute ensures your freshly painted doors absolutely will not fuse to the frames. It also offers excellent hide, which means it covers up bare MDF or raw, unpainted wood incredibly well without you needing to apply endless layers. And because it's actually rated for both interior and exterior use, it handles the intense humidity of a boiling, steamy kitchen effortlessly. This is just a perfect example of how choosing a paint formulated for a specific environmental challenge can literally save your entire project.
All right, I need to pause here for a second and deliver some tough love. You could go out right now and buy the most scientifically advanced premium water-based alkyd on the market, and it will still be a complete and total disaster if you ignore one crucial factor: adhesion failure. Paint simply cannot stick to grease, it cannot stick to slippery, high-gloss varnishes. If your surface is unprepared, the new paint will just rest on top of it like a blanket, just waiting to be scratched off by a stray fingernail.
So to completely prevent adhesion failure, here is your non-negotiable workflow. First, you have to take the doors off the hinges. Painting them flat stops gravity from creating those messy drips. Second, scrub absolutely everything with a heavy degreaser to remove years of invisible cooking oils. Third, you must degloss. You can use a liquid gloss remover or a 220 grit sandpaper to scuff the surface, which gives the paint microscopic grooves to physically grab onto. Fourth, apply a high-quality stain-locking shellac primer so old wood tannins don't bleed through and turn your crisp white paint yellow. And only then are you actually ready to paint.
And when you finally do reach that painting stage, please burn this rule into your memory forever. 2 thin coats will always, always outlast 1 thick coat. I know it is incredibly tempting to just load up your brush and try to finish the door in one single pass to save time. Do not do it. A thick puddle of paint skins over on the top, but it stays soft and wet underneath for weeks. It will dent, it will peel, and it will fail. 2 thin, carefully applied coats, on the other hand, will cure into a rock-hard, impenetrable shell.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. As this quote perfectly summarizes, whatever you choose, the prep work matters more than the brand. Understanding the chemistry of semi-gloss finishes, block resistance, and alkyd hybrids allows you to pick the exact right tool for the job, but your own patience in cleaning, deglossing, and priming is what actually guarantees that flawless finish. Take these insights and apply them to your own kitchen, and I promise you will save yourself thousands of dollars and endless frustration. If you want to dive deeper into the specific formulas and get all the details we discussed today, be sure to check out the full article. But before you start ripping those doors off your hinges, you have to ask yourself one question. Are you ready to put in the real prep work, or are you just looking for a quick coat of paint?